Hi, friends. Let me start by saying happy Pride in this month of June. We're delighted to be here to share the knowledge and accelerate the passion with which we all spend varying amounts of time in the gaming industry. Gaming has become an extremely hot button industry over the past decade, but I definitely in the last 2 years. And just to put it in perspective, gaming, the global games market has been smashing industries like Hollywood out of the park. In fact, for the last 2 or 3 years, consistently, gaming has been bigger than Hollywood and the entire music industry combined. Which is why we were seeing big acquisitions in the space. We're also seeing large jobs that are opening up. Hindustan Times has said in the next 5 years, India will be adding 100,000 jobs in the space of gaming. So we're very excited to be a part of it at this junction in the gaming business, and to break down this feeding frenzy that has taken over the gaming market in terms of skills, trends, and opportunities. We have with us four accomplished women professionals from the gaming industry. And they're here to provide insights and guidance to people who are starting out, and also if they're looking to make a mid-career change in pursuing a career in gaming. The panelists are Zerah Gonsalves, CEO of League of Extraordinary Games. She's an esports specialist with 10 years of experience in the industry, and she is now the CEO of LXG, a veteran game tech company, as well as the co-founder of GG Space, a new age gaming creative agency. Saumya Iyer, game producer with Zynga. Mariam Dholkawala is a game and mixed reality developer with TCS. She has over 18 years of experience in building casual and educational games. And I also have Vandana Goyal with us. And she is the founder of MG Games. She has also come in from a background of technology. And each panelist here for me personally is I'm delighted to have them because they're a winner from the 2022 or the 2023 cohort of the Hangama Game Changers in Entertainment across movies, music, and gaming. And they represent a different facet of the gaming industry. So I think it'll be really interesting to get very, very diverse perspectives from them. Okay, so I want to get quite quickly into this now that I've done a bit of a background, and we want to start with one of the things that I've noticed when I'm talking to women in gaming or people in gaming, especially minority communities in gaming, is that for people who've been in the gaming over the last decade or two, gaming has happened to them as much more than the intentional choice. And I think Zerah is probably the exception in that. But I would love for Saumya, perhaps you can sort of tell us a little bit about how gaming happened for you, and then the skills that you kind of were able to build on, both hard and soft skills, to kind of take that and make them work in gaming and make gaming work for you.
Sure. I mean, I think gaming pretty much happened to me. You put it very well. That's exactly been my experience as well. I've played games since I was a kid, much to the chagrin of my parents, of course. I never thought that I could make a career out of it because at that time, 17, 18 years back, there was no clear path towards it. And especially in India, it was very nascent, almost I would say just it was practically a fetus compared to what it is now, 20 years on. So yeah, I basically got into it completely by luck and good fortune. I happened to be, I just completed my bachelor's degree, and I happened to be playing this MMORPG called Ragnarok online. And very coincidentally, they put up a job posting for game masters, and I applied and I got in, without really expecting much out of it. And at that time, I thought that, maybe I'll work a couple of years and get back to higher studies, because who knows where this, industry is going to go? Who knows if there's any job opportunities there? And here I am, 17, 18 years later, still here. And I've had the good fortune of of working in a lot of different roles or different companies. So yeah, but the situation right now is very, very different. There are so many more companies that have set up shop in India, not just outsourcing arms of the US based giants, but also homegrown studios as well. So it is a lot easier for someone who wants to get their foot in the door. It's also a lot easier because there is so much knowledge and information out there on the internet. It's very easy to, pick up a course. People are sharing all this information for free on YouTube as well. So you can learn so much. There are so many books. There are so many courses. You can simply, download game making engines as well and just start off, with tutorials on that and sort of polish your skill, the art of making games. It's so important. So it's really, really easy for someone who just wants to pick it up as a hobby as well, and just see where it where it takes them, because it's really, really important to understand that making games is very different from playing games. It's just because you love playing games doesn't mean you'll enjoy any aspect of making them at all, and that's fine. That's completely fine. Now we have the opportunity to just try our hand at it, and figure out if it's for us. And if it's not, that's perfectly fine. So what advice I would give to someone who is maybe just starting out or is considering getting into the games industry or trying to figure out how to make games, just go out there and learn. Pick it up as a passion project, the same way that you might want to learn music. You might want to learn to play an instrument, or develop your skill at art or sculpting or anything that you want. Think of making games the same way, and take it from there. Now, whether or not you build a career out of it is something completely, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the passion for it, it'll enhance your life. And if you're able to make a stable job out of it, that's great. You don't just have to join an established company. You can maybe start making your own games and publishing them online yourself, or start your own studio. So the environment that you're in, it's never been easier. It's never been simpler to start. So that is my advice. And for mid-career changes, it gets a little bit more complicated, because you probably already have a lot of skills and maybe you don't have as much time to start from the ground up. But it really, I think there are so many opportunities as well. So for example, product management is a field where people from all industries come into the games industry as well. There's so many more, disciplines as well. There's HR, there's marketing, there's, project management, which is what, my job is. So there's always, I think, some inroad, some way for you to, join the industry, no matter where you're from, no matter where you're starting out.
Okay, that's terrific. Thank you. What I do want to ask you a question before I move on is, just as a game producer or a game designer, what are the core skill sets that you do need in that particular job profile? And then we'll sort of break it down with other jobs with the other panelists.
Right. So it really depends from role to role. So the skills that you might need as a game designer are very different from, not that different, but they do diverge. If you're a game producer, for my role, it's really important to have that's a good question. It's really important to have an organizational ability and a bent to sort of support the team in making games. It's not about you and the tasks that you are accomplishing on a daily basis. It's project management. So if I had to talk about hard skills that people need to learn, those would be it, project management skills. And of course, there's a bunch of soft skills as well, which I think every role needs, but nobody needs it more than a producer. Being able to work with people from very different backgrounds, mindsets, abilities, and still helping them come together as a team to achieve a goal. So that is it from the production perspective. From a game design perspective, of course, you have to understand the art of making games itself. There are so many books, I think by Brenda Romero. Challenges for Game Designers is one book that I would highly recommend for every aspiring and current game designer, if you've not already checked it out. It really helps you understand the craft of making games, what goes into it, the nuts and bolts of it. And you have to develop that perspective of what makes a game engaging or good. Playing games is only the start. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to, go into the job profile of every single, discipline that I work with. So I think I'll stop there. But I'm happy to help out anyone who needs it on an individual basis. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Zara, your role has been, I think that's the entry path for most people into the gaming business. You start out as a gamer, and then you moved on to becoming a shoutcaster, and then sort of going into the space of esports and building it into game tech, but really in the working with the gamers on the gaming, the consumption side of the gaming business. How did you kind of get into it, and more importantly, in your particular role, how did you get your foot in the door in an area where you would have felt very much the lack of diversity?
So I have a very similar story to you, Saumya. The fact that gaming just happened to me. I was with my sister in college, and all her friends used to play games, and I just jumped into it one day, and I fell in love with it. A little bit more of my background is the fact that I love sports. I've always tried to excel at sports, whether it's skating, whether it's swimming, whether it's table tennis. I've been so into sports, and I've always felt that I've reached a point where I can't learn further because there are only certain places, around your house where you can be the best. And after that, you don't really have the opportunity to go. And I mean, unless you're really backed up and, financially supported, you can't really go into a lot of careers just off the bat. And I think that's where gaming stood out for me because I genuinely felt that I didn't really need to invest financially into it. I could just keep improving day on day, play with world-class players, understand the kind of gameplays that are out there. I met such a variety of people online from China, from Philippines. And I think the whole idea of just having a place that I could say that I'm not the best, but I could be at some point, I think was that goal for me, And as I continued that career, I played for about 5 years really seriously, and that was also through college, where I did my BCA, bachelor's in computer applications, and then I went on to do a course of marina animation and game design. I did all that just to kind of make sure that my mom doesn't kick me out of the house and lets me continue playing video games. So that's how it kind of started. And in college, I was a debater. So one day when randomly I was on a call with a bunch of friends, they said, "You have such a lovely voice. Why don't you become a shoutcaster?" And I think that was the trigger that I said, "Oh,
Can you also, I think, tell for the uninformed what a shoutcaster is? Because I don't think everybody relates to that.
So basically, in layman terms, a shoutcaster is someone who's you can relate to it as cricket. In cricket, when you hear a commentator talking at the back and telling you exactly what's happening in the match, who is the better player, what is the outcome of that fight, pre segment and post segment. So once the game ends, then you kind of sit down and analyze what went wrong, who really stood out in a particular game, what really affected the game, and how could that player further on their career in that field. So I think that's how I started my career. The fact that what I commentated was taken really well by the esports athletes who were professional athletes, and they took it in good faith. And that kind of made them have more faith in who I was as a person. I was not just a girl who was playing video games at home. I knew my art, I knew my craft. And I think I only concentrated on one skill, and that was my voice. I realized that in India, there are very less people who could be so fluent in English at the same time, take something that's really complex, like a game of Dora 2, and simplify it for an audience who's maybe not even visually seeing the product on maybe TV, but just hearing it on the radio. But how could they understand the feeling of that? So I took just one skill of mine and I tried to really develop on that and make sure that maybe if I don't know everything else about the ecosystem, because the fact remains that I never really had a door to step into because there was no door. So I had to create that door for me, and I had to tell brands that this commentating is really a thing. It will get you more leverage in the ecosystem. Give me a chance. Let me prove that I can do this. And I've built every part of my career on my own. I think the biggest advantage I had over time was the fact that there was one company, not in gaming. They were the only company in the country at that point who even cared about gaming. I would say it like that for our side. So I was really privileged to work with them. I was really privileged to be mentored by Akshat Rathi. He's a wonderful person, and he's always tried to be positive about the steps we have taken. So I think a mix of a lot of things, my conviction to not give up on gaming because I love it so much, and just taking every opportunity and converting it. I think that is very important. When you're early on in your career, you can always say, I don't do this or I do that. But if you do that, you are cutting off opportunities with now 5-6 years after that have come back to play a really good role in my life. So I think it's been a struggle, but at the same time, everybody has their journey, and if they find the right nooks and corners and find their what makes them different, I think that really stands out. In my case, it was my voice and the fact that I was a lady. Maybe that also added a tad bit of value more. But yeah.
That's actually, I think, a interesting point of view. I think a combination of the winning mindset, taking your opportunities where you can, and also I think it's nice to have mentors. And I think people underappreciate the value a mentor can have in your career. And also, they don't realize that most people, if you approach them, will give you the time. So, for everyone out there, if you know somebody or you connect with someone on LinkedIn or on Instagram, ask. If they have the time, they will answer your question. If they have more time, they will ask you to come in and do a 1 hour, heart to heart kind of thing with them, connect you with 3 people, and it can get you foot in the door. Because I think foot in the door, for women in gaming, we're still very much a minority in the profession as well as in the representation. I'm going to move to Vandana. Vandana, you've been a technologist for a really long time, but now you are working on the metaverse in mixed reality technology, and you do both tech
Yes.
gaming as well as board games. So just as somebody who is now an entrepreneur and a founder, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the skills that you're looking for when you're hiring people across roles. Because in your case, you're looking for people, you're looking for artists and animators and writers and analysts and UI UX, and
Yes.
just sort of break down some of the core careers that you're filling jobs for right now and what it takes to be that person.
Right. Well, this is a very wonderful question. Though my journey has started from a technologist, I was having a decade of experience directly working with Microsoft and the Sun Times and all, and this was all the service thing. When I started choosing as a gaming as my career or to start my own studio for a gaming studio, because I love to play games and I really the algorithm and the AI part, the bot functionality was my core area, because I really want the bot should be smart enough to handle the things. And that was a time when Android was just about to start. So I started my journey when J2ME, the BlackBerry phones were in the market. So I created lots of games. I played, even you can't believe, I actually created lots of like 200 plus games, and we put it in an Opera store, and we somehow, luckily, with the grace of God, got good income out of it. But that was the era when the gaming was just about to start for the Android user. The market we were targeting was from the native user to the smart user, because the smartphones came to the market and people have the good connection after Jio has introduced. So lots of people have a different mindset. Then when we kicked off the market, so I picked up the categories which is helping out. Like for me, the board, the puzzle, the card was being a category. And I think because there you can actually create a bot, you can create an algorithm. And right now, if you will ask that, the skill set, because the gaming market has changed tremendously. It's billion dollar market, if you talk about the gaming industry. And I'm happy that I choose this market.
One, the global revenues for the gaming industry were 180 billion.
Yes, and it will be growing further. I think as per CAGR report, it will be like 590 million dollar, must be by 2030 for sure. Because it is rapidly growing, the technology has changed from giving an immersive experience in AR, VR, metaverse. So like it's good to be a part of an industry which is actually growing.
And there you can actually plug your, expertise, the tech expertise. You can try something new out of it. And obviously the skill set, I'm looking for my company, and the studios, the kind of a studios I have, the people are looking. First is very important is a game designer. Because what exactly has to be done, it should be like it should be, it should be well documented, well formed, like what exactly we need to be put in the market. After that, obviously the development is something.
Sorry, I'm going to do this so that we actually keep getting clarity on the skills. When you're looking for a great designer, what are you looking for apart from experience, which everybody wants? Is it sort of a background in psychology? Is it more a commercial angle, the ability to have done maybe understood behavioral economics? So just what is that sort of exact role that you're trying to fit it with?
Sure. So basically, obviously, psychology is a main factor, and obviously we have to play while designing a game. We have to think about how we can retain the user, how we will engage the user more firmly. So we have to be design a label. Obviously, Saumya can give us a more input on that, but we have to be designed in some way like people will not feel, oh, I lost the game, and it will they have to have that winning feeling. Apart from that, they are obviously back and forth to the gaming and all. So this is very important thing. Obviously psychologic, obviously there is a people who have conducted the game designers. I mean, they Soumya, you can add on this thing. What about the game designer skill set?
Yeah, I think game design is such a unique role because it incorporates everything. That Ronak that you mentioned as well, you do need to understand on some instinctive level, you need to understand player psychology, you need to be able to understand game mechanics and what will work when, in what context, because it depends on the kind of game that you're making as well. When you're making, say, a live operations mobile game, one that it doesn't have a, beginning and an end, and you have to keep on engaging players over and over and over, get them to keep coming back to the game, if not daily, then at least weekly or monthly, across many years. It's very, very different than designing a standalone game. It's very different than designing any other kind of game as well. So you do have to have an understanding of the different patterns. You mentioned behavioral economics as well, all of those things. So it's really about refining your craft and practicing making games, and seeing what the effects are and studying that and learning more and more. So, yeah.
Okay. Mariam, I'm going to throw this to you as well. Also, you started as a game developer. And you're now also working in some of the mixed reality areas, the areas that are going to be a lot of the jobs of the future. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the skills that are going into these areas. And also just even when you come in as a game developer, sort of you do need to have a base level of coding, whether it's Python or JavaScript or C++. So just what you are sort of what you are currently seeing trending as the languages to learn, the sort of all the softwares to be working with and picking up on, both in terms of game development, but also because you're working in mixed realities in the art and animation space.
Sure, Ronak. So I think what I begin with is, a little bit more background in how I entered the gaming industry. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, fine. So so what I'll begin with is a little bit of introduction to how I kind of got into the industry. So I was introduced to actually tools like Photoshop and CorelDRAW when I was in college. When I was in school, actually, not college. When I was in school, and I kind of took a fascination to creating art, using these tools. And I always wanted to be a graphic designer because I thought I had the talent, and I think I did. I still do. And but when I actually went out in the market and I started meeting people for opportunities, I mean, it actually did not, it came down to having a degree and not really, the talent alone did work. So so that's when I, there was a point where I actually thought of pursuing even my CA, because I come from a commerce background. And I was studying accounting in college. So I said, and I was good at it. So I said, why not pursue CA? So around that time, I had a family friend who approached me, and he was pitching for a project with a book publisher saying that, we're going to be developing CD-ROMs for them. And he wanted me to help him, with that particular pitch. And his thing was that, why don't you start looking at programming and helping me build that pitch? And I was like completely, averse to programming. I was like, I haven't done programming before. So, but yet, just to help him out, I started reading a lot of programming books. And I think that really led to my journey, starting as a game developer or a game programmer. And I think going forward from there, there was very little in terms of resources available. But I think, kind of following game developers, reading blogs, reading a lot of books, and just kind of, learning online that is how I really built my skills in game development. And going forward from there, I started working on my own ideas for games and started building a portfolio independently. And, I want to be ready with a portfolio when I started, going out there for jobs and doing interviews. And I think that really helped me. I think, whether you have the skills, whether you have, you may have studied programming, you may not have studied programming, but I think being, setting a goal for yourself and being persistent in where you want to reach in life, I think is very important. And that's a lesson, which I have experienced in my life. I was very persistent on what I wanted to do. And I think just going ahead and, building a portfolio for myself and then kind of going into the market for a job is what really helped me. So, so I think it's been a long journey. I started as a programmer. I started leading a lot of teams, going forward from there. And currently I'm actually back to, developing using XR technologies. And I'm currently with TCS, and I'm part of the research and innovation lab. So they focus mainly on, XR technologies. So whether it's VR, you have your AR and mixed reality. So a lot of, our work is, looking at new devices, looking at the APIs which come out in the market. And
a person, can you also just elaborate on the difference between the three? AR, VR, and XR.
Okay, so virtual reality is a completely immersive 3D environment where you're escaping your reality. So you are in a completely immersed virtual environment. AR is augmented reality, where you have digital content which is overlaid on top of real content. And mixed reality is somewhere in between virtual reality and augmented reality, where you overlay your content on top of the real world, as well as you have the ability to interact and still feel immersed. So that's what the three platforms are.
All right.
So,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so actually, since you talked about building your own portfolio, I think that's, for anyone who's exploring gaming as a career, that's a really important thing for them to keep doing and building their portfolio, so that when they get that meeting, they've already been able to show some amount of both interest, passion, but also skills and organizational in those areas. Because building a game is a little bit different from just playing a game. It's not necessarily the whole gamer lifestyle mindset. We do value deadlines and deliverables and things like that. So how can and anyone of you can answer this, but how can people go out and build portfolio, do networking, build an online presence, and participate in the gaming industry even when you are still an outsider looking in?
Whoever wants to take it. Sorry, was Zerah going to say something?
No, you can first answer that.
All right. In terms of developing your skill, like I said, there's so many resources online. You can just sort of pick up Unity or Unreal Engine and just start making your own games and start practicing that way. You can also look for game jams that are constantly being run. I think Bangalore, where I'm currently based, has a lot of them, constantly popping up. There are game dev meetups as well. So that is a great way to sort of meet, like-minded folks. And sometimes there might be some industry professionals there as well, but you can go and, you can get some advice. Contacting people on LinkedIn is also a good way to do it. I do try to help out folks, although I unfortunately don't have the time to reply to everybody. So I do feel bad about that. But I think the game dev community is really, friendly for the most part. And as long as you're, trying your best and you have some genuine questions, folks are always willing to at least, talk with you. I think there's one, website one community that's trying to be built called gamedev.in. I know that there are a lot of Discord servers as well where folks can go to talk to each other. So yeah, definitely, try your hand, get your foot in the door, start participating in the conversations, or just listen in, just lurk and, see what folks are saying. And you're sure to pick up a lot of things.
Also, there are lots of Slack channel. There are lots of communities on the LinkedIn. You should join, even if you are an indie developer or a hardcore developer, or you are interesting for AAA games, or maybe from an art side or from a developer side. So there are lots of content, or lots of groups are available, which are sometimes these groups are mainly focused on countrywide. Otherwise, they are worldwide.
Yes, actually,
I think if you're
I just had a game, a challenge with a game that we're working on. We had the art coming to us because a lot of that was being done on Mac, and we weren't being able to compress it down. We actually just asked the questions in open forums, and I got 40 different people helping me with what software I can use to compress the files so I don't lose my texturing. It was incredible to me.
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
forums
Zerah,
is
you were
something
saying.
the forums is something I think which has really helped me as well. So I think it's a good way for not just us to, kind of test our skills, because we go out there and we answer questions on behalf of, what's been asked by others. But at the same time, we get a lot of help also, because, we go there, we are asking questions, and we are getting help, a lot of help from the community. And Saumya mentioned Game Jam.
Even just listening to these conversations, being able to be privy to them, you will start knowing about new softwares, and you start hearing about the new trends and how people are moving from this language to this software, how they're not spending so much on it. So I think, that's one part. And I'm sorry, Zerah, you have been getting cut twice, so I'm going to give you the platform, please.
No, I just wanted to add that, all your perspectives are, very digitally based, like where people go onto a platform and kind of, go there. But with esports, it's kind of a little opposite. If you want to have a life or a career in esports, you can't be the one sitting behind a PC. You will join Discord groups and you can go play games with your friends. But if it comes to the point where you want to make it a career, you have to really go to places. Like when I say places, I mean that you have to attend esport events. You have to network with the right people. You should have your group that, is going to for a meet and greet, or is just going for a HP brand launch of a laptop. The reason for that is that, when you see how production works at events, when you see how the atmosphere is set, you kind of will be able to find that niche where you feel, hey, you know what, I think I can add a little bit of value with it. I think I write really good content. So if I sit and talk to this content guy who has made all these banners and flyers, maybe he'll give me the opportunity to work with him. And I think that's the basic difference in esports, because as long as you're sitting at home and working, you don't realize how much goes into making an esports event so big. And when you go there and you don't even need to network, like you said, you just hear conversations, you hear esport players talking, brands are always visible, telling you that, you should go check out their product, or, why is it a 144 hertz monitor? What is the difference between a 120 hertz and a 144 hertz? You get that knowledge with the crowd around you. And that kind of builds your competency to then go ahead and do better. And I think that's how my career has been, because even though I have always been in front of the camera working, I have made the best network by attending events. and you'll genuinely feel that physical feeling of sharing that space with another gamer who does the same thing that you do. How do they look? You don't judge them by how they look till you don't meet them, and then when you meet them, you're like, oh my god, even if you were like a mango looking person, I would still love you the same, because I met you, and you'll help me grow. So I think that's what I wanted to put out in focus, that I get the whole digital platform awareness, even in gaming it's huge, but I don't want to take away that physically being with people, because that's had a lot of effect for me.
I totally agree with Zera, because I also, got an opportunity to attend the game developer conference in San Francisco. And that was a time when actually, before that, I was just, attending some conferences in India, like NGDC or IGDC, basically. But when you go global, then your total perspective has changed from the kind of work you guys were, the vision has changed. The vision has, you have defined your, updated your vision, the how the people are doing, how the industry is growing, the lots of inputs. Even the GDC also have their YouTube channel. There lots of old talks are available to watch, so people can go and you can go with a casual connect or a PG Connect. So there are lots of information available on a different streaming website, and you can just, people should go and check it out.
Here I'd love to sort of do a little segue into the concept of imposter syndrome. I think as people who are minorities, and women still constitute that, for the audience that we are doing the panel for, that's even more of a thing. And the reality is, 25 years into my career, 19 years in gaming, I still feel the imposter syndrome. There are times at GDC I have felt, what am I doing here? That's a reality that we're going to deal with. But that's something that you should know. It's a lot of people are feeling it, and there's ways to get past it. And even if you can't avoid the imposter syndrome, work around it. And I just wanted to sort of get your opinion on imposter syndrome, and just sort of having those moments in your career where you say, it's really not for me, it's not for my kind of people.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. That's true. And, but, like you have to be think in a different perspective. You have to, sometimes when things are not as per your expectation, or it's beyond your expectation, then obviously you have a thought to inspire. Then you will grow yourself. You will just come out from that conference or from event. Then you just brush out, update your learning skills, the change your strategy, and just brush up the thing. Then you will have that confidence back. And definitely, obviously, meeting and greeting and attending these conferences will definitely inspire you, because things are disruptive in market, and everything is evolving and changing as per the market segments.
Yeah, I think that imposter syndrome is something that strikes a lot of us, and a lot of us who don't deserve it, compared to people who, they have the self-confidence of a god, and they just don't realize just how incompetent they are. So I think it's important for us to reassure ourselves, to build a community and a network of people whom we can always fall back on and talk to help buoy us during those times. It's also important to keep on learning, which is where your network and community will also help you out. Never stop learning. We sometimes need to just brute force logic ourselves into, reminding ourselves that, hey, I'm not so bad. There's people who are far worse than me and they don't care. So maybe I can take a leaf out of their book and just not care as much. Because it is, it is that, it's only a feeling. At the end of the day, and if we can teach ourselves or train ourselves to work through that feeling, push through it, and just get out the other side, then I think it's really important. I think all of these things are skills in themselves. Learning how to deal with your own emotions, or your own whatever your own insecurities. So it's really important that we develop that skill as well, along with all of our other hard skills that we need in our careers.
I mean, I would just want to add to that if you're ever going for an event, like this is just a tip for everybody watching, and you feel that you may not feel the best going there, you would be alone, or you don't know who's going to be the right mix of people, always take a group of friends with you, because you can always fall back on them and have meaningless chatterboxes going on. But don't go alone, because what happens in a situation like that is you're trying to fit into something or the other, and it may not work out for you. It'll demotivate you to do it again. So always try to first start off with a bunch of people who you know, even if it's just one another. Like I used to go with another girl, so I used to feel that okay, I'm not the only girl there, and that's how it really helps.
Yeah, when you're attending a networking conference, these you can't take friends with you. What you can do is do shout outs on social media and on Discord platforms and say who's going to be there, and fix up a couple of meetings a day for you. So you've got some structure to the day. And then the rest of the time, you maybe one of those people will be your come with guy, and they'll just, she or he or they will just join you in the rest of the conference, but it gives you a little bit of structure and you're not totally at a loss. Uh, so actually, Vandana, you talked about disruption, and there has been unprecedented disruption in gaming. The kind of people we are building games for has changed. The kind of devices we're building them on has changed. And I think what we see with what people are doing with those games, what gamers are actually doing and experiencing with those games has changed. So, Mariam, if you can start with what the metaverse means for gaming, and what are ways to kind of, the metaverse in itself is going to have a whole set of career opportunities that come out. So, just a little insight into, Vandana, Mariam, both of you can sort of add to this aspect, just what we're looking at in terms of, the trends going forward. What do you think?
Sure, I think metaverse as a phrase is, kind of being used not that frequently now. But just to kind of, yeah, I mean, if you want to define metaverse, it's going to be, let's say an evolution of the internet, where you have, a 3D immersed version of the internet, and which is viewable using, your VR devices and your AR devices. So I think it's more coming down to, the experiences you create for, the XR and AR, because that's where it's heading. And I mean, looking at what we have now, with the Apple's Vision Pro, I think they have completely changed the game with, eye tracking and hand tracking and, just voice tracking, and you don't need controllers anymore. And, I mean, it just gives an edge to developers to kind of experiment with content. And we may feel that, okay, the XR market is, the devices are expensive, and, not many people get onto it and start using it, because it's a known fact that, VR can cause nausea. But you must know that, a game like Beat Saber, now that's been, the highest selling game. Nearly 4 million, lifetime copies have been sold, and they made nearly 225 million in revenue. So so it's actually quite nice to know that there's a lot you can do even in this space, and it's not just games. I mean, even experimenting with content. Now you have the geospatial API, which is Google has released recently. Now with that, you can create games similar to, let's say, Pokemon Go, but it's more refined because you have the maps in 3D tiles. So there's a lot you can do with this technology with games.
True. So basically, gaming has evolved over time, and we are at the right platform, because it is not going to stagnate further. Because the creativity, when the creativity and the tech part is evolved, and we are giving the immersive experience using AR and a VR, obviously the MR, of course. So you are updating the product based on the latest in trend. So if you are asking about the latest in trends, like obviously the mobile gaming is first, obviously esports is second. Even I can see that there are lots of localized and regional content is coming into the gaming. So when before that, the gaming was just localized in just English or maybe a Hindi. If you can see the, not just in gaming, but in app as well, you can see the lots of regional languages has involved. So you can see the, we are more focused on tier 2 and tier 3, apart from tier 1 cities. And that is very important. Obviously, if you are talking about the console and the streamers or a PC games, so, if you look at the games which we have developed like 4 years back and the right now, it's huge difference. We have evolved over time, that in the changes of technology and the trends. So I think the gaming is something which is actually happening, and it's going to grow further.
One of the things that I've been sort of watching quite closely is how AI and the bots, sort of Bard or Chat GPT, or the various sort of solutions within each of the verticals, how they are going to impact the career. The other day, just to prove to me that what I do will become obsolete, my 18-year-old has asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has provided the entire code for a Subway Surfer type game, and with complete with levels and power ups and everything. She has basically described what she wants, which leads me to the prompt engineer. So how for the next 5 years, how much do you actually need to know the code, or vis-a-vis how much do you need to understand the logic?
I think, you are very correct. Even not just in gaming, I think everywhere the Chat GPT, Bard, and all lots of small AI plugins are available. Even some small tools are available, which is giving you a refine and the information you are looking forward. They are giving in that format. Even you will ask, you just need to be asked the correct way. For example, if I will ask you, give me a design doc for X, the AI is so smart enough, he will give you the things as per your need. Even if you want, like, this information should be put something content with influence with Surfer or Temple Run, or maybe XYZ game, it will introduce those. But like, someone has to review it. You can't use that particular information as it is. Someone has that mindset, like what exactly they are looking for. The answer, the solution the Bard is giving or a AI Chat GPT is giving is exactly what they are looking, or you need a review, because review is something which is again right now is required.
Okay. I'm going to list a few careers that I know of from in the gaming industry. I'd love for you guys to fill in the blanks and highlight anything that I may have missed. Obviously, we already have a couple of these careers on the panel. So we have there are game developers, game designers, UI UX designers. There's games analysts. These guys are the guys who read the data and tell you what you're doing right, and more often what you're doing wrong. We have writers who are now writing, and these writers are not only writing for the stories and choices kind of games. Now you have game story writers who are writing for the script for the entire game, like an Assassin's Creed or a Call of Duty. We have artists, and then we have animators, which are different from artists. We also have producers, the game testers, audio engineers. These are some of the ones that I had listed. And then there's the business team, and then the marketing team, because at some point somebody has to pay the bills. But apart from these, if I've missed out any careers that you people are privy to, please share.
I think there is a very important. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, please carry on.
Okay, so basically, I think ASO, the App Store Optimization Manager, like, who is taking care of the store listing, the content you have to be published. Yeah, so that is very important, for a organic growth. Obviously, marketing, you have to spend on a marketing for a paid campaign or user acquisition part, but the listing you are providing, the information you are attaching to your game, on a maybe a Play Store or a Apple, that is very important. The kind of a keywords you have to be pick up, the right keyword, at the right stage, it is very important. Obviously, rest of the yeah.
Skills that you would need for that? I know a lot of people from the SEO space are moving into ASO.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a good fit, sometimes it's not such a good fit. So, what are the skills that you need to be able to be that person that actually does this to
Uh,
optimize?
Yeah, so ASO can be a person who is good in SEO, because SEO is for a website, ASO is for app and a game. Now, second thing, because for ASO, you need certain things. For example, the keyword research, there are certain tools available, which are paid tool majorly, but there are certain free tools available, which you can use, like data.ai have us a free space there. You can use the which are the keywords is actually giving us more organic, what is the rank and everything, which is exactly the same skill set which SEO guy they has to do for a website. But for ASO, I think he or she should be a good should be also having like user acquisition, because I think the paid organic and inorganic growth can be covered by the one person who is a ASO, who can create some more campaigns, the paid campaigns for user acquisition, and who can also do the organic growth using the ASO techniques.
Zara, do you want to highlight some of the core careers on the esports side?
Yeah, I think there are a lot. You mentioned a ton of them. I hope these help. But now in esports also we have like a variety of options, right? Because if you're talking about esports organization, for example, which is a huge part of the industry, inside that you have things like project manager, team manager, coaches, analysts, BD and sales for the team, who's going to be client servicing. So there's a big division of team organization skills that you can get into. If you know a particular team, you can ask them, what are the things missing in your organization? That's how we kind of fill in the blocks on what they require. The other thing, when it comes to kind of my kind of company, which is a game tech company, we basically own multiple gaming cafes across the country. We run white label production solutions for all kinds of brands. At the same time, we also work with community management. So we have our own IP. So one thing that I look for when even I'm talking to anybody in industry is, what is a creative way of doing the same job that we do, but differently, because there are only so many times a brand will say that let's put your logo on top. And that's how the creative agency of mine came into being, because I know it's not the need of the hour. But say 3 years from now, if everything is going to be on a chat GPT, then where are your creative ideas coming from? So I think copywriters in general, they have a huge scope in gaming. Game tech reviewers for products, huge scope. Anybody around the tech gadget field can do a lot of work in this. I think game artists also are brilliant. The people who take in-game characters and redesign them for t-shirts, for merchandise, for gaming events. I think those kind of jobs will evolve because the use of your hands is becoming lesser and lesser as years are going by. And I think those people who kind of just find those particular niches and just build on those niches inside the industry will do very well. I would go to this extent of saying that today, if you tell me what you can do, like anybody who's sitting in the audience, just send me a message on LinkedIn and tell me what is the skill you have. I will tell you exactly what kind of job you can do in the esports industry, because there is such a variety. I don't think gamers are less, but I think outside world people coming into the industry with their skill set can create magnificent things. Filmmakers are going to do amazingly well. Netflix is already doing so many movies on games, so many opportunities over there. So it's just about what you're good at, and then trying to look through the field and finding a position to place your coin at.
So I want to take the last few minutes that we have discussing the lack of diversity. As sort of part of the industry as custodians, the fact is that I think um, we know that even when you are at a conference, whether you are in the office, the fact is that the percentage of minorities, women, people from the LGBTQI plus community, you see them a lot less in the industry, and I think you see them very, very much in the minority in representation in the games, in our own games. So I'd love to sort of figure out, um, you know, how much that's changed in in the couple of decades of the careers that the panel has had, but also how to galvanize more change, and not just about funneling more people into the industry, but also how to kind of help them get to the top and find themselves moving out of junior and mid management roles and sort of finding a voice for the community, increasing inclusion, diversity in the industry. So, I mean, Mariam, maybe we start with you and then go down to each person in the panel. I'd love to hear every person's views on this.
Yeah, sure. So I really feel that, when I joined the industry and where I see myself today, I don't see too much of a change as far as, women are entering the space. I don't know, it's probably a personal experience, but I really haven't seen, too many women entering the industry. And of course, I've never had, anybody from the LGBTQ, community. So I feel, yeah, there is a lack of, representation of women, of the minority community in the gaming industry. And I think the best way to solve this is, kind of approaching people and, kind of presenting yourself as a mentor. Because, it's unless they don't see a role model out there, somebody who they can look up to, I think that it's probably just going to, be the same. Because yeah, I mean, they need some kind of a motivation. I think moreover, this needs to be self-driven also. For me, I think a lot of, where I reached in my career, everything that I've achieved, I think it's more out of the drive that I had within me to be where I want to be and be persistent in that. So I think there needs to be some kind of I don't know, maybe a soft skill kind of thing which is taught to women, how they need to go out there and, kind of grab what is really, for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not just women. I think it's all people who are feeling the lack of diversity and are not being able to see themselves in the industry or in the representation in the games. But I do agree with you. There needs to be a strong sense of I'm going to become a part of it. I don't see myself in the games I play. I will become a part of the industry to change that. And I think that's very true for women. I would love to not not have the only woman character as the person who's getting arrested on the side of the street while the cars fly by. So I think, it to some extent, yes, you do need to be self-motivated, because you want to change it. You're going to have to be the person that augments that change. And I think I'd love to hear, Saumya, perhaps you can share with me how we can encourage more women and maybe change more voices. I think some of that will come in at both an art and design level. I think a game producer would be uniquely placed to actually put the right people into those teams.
Right, right. I mean, I think it's a very complex issue. Whenever we're trying to bring societal and cultural change, it doesn't just come from one place, right? There's a top-down approach, there's a bottom-up approach. There is individual actions, and the most effective thing is collective action as well. And I think that all of that is required all together. There's what we can do as individuals. There's, how much we can influence the companies or the environments in which we're currently working. There's how much of a community we can help build, how much solidarity we can help establish with gender and sexual minorities, or any other minorities that we sort of see. So for example, Zynga as an organization, I'm very happy to sort of say that they're extremely supportive in that they have camps for encouraging girls to code, for example, to go out and speak to girls in various communities, and be that representation that, hey, yes, you also have a place here. In case nobody told you, you're welcome here. They have a lot of internal employee organizations as well, in support of various gender and sexual minorities. All of these are there. So that is what helps at a company level, at a leadership level as well, to say that, hey, you're also welcome, and we as a company are very committed to supporting you. So that's really good to see. On an individual level, as Mariam mentioned as well, reaching out. I think the fact that we are all here is one of the greatest ways to show that, yes, women are also part of the industry, and you're very much welcome. And yes, on an individual level, I think visibility is so important. And I think the world that we live in is definitely much improved now than it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago even, or much further along than that. And I think that a lot of progress has been made, and it's really important to communicate to people that much more progress does need to be made, but so much of the battle has been fought already, and it's very important that everybody picks up the torch and takes it forward.
Vandana,
So-
as I think a lot of people will have seen, virtualization has been a big trend over the last few years. Your avatar in your game, in now your Bitmoji, your Animoji, has become a really big part of this. And that this has sort of got the genesis is in the gaming space. So I think just, how kind of the way you play, your experience as a player, not just in what you're seeing, how that is impacting the more diverse now players that you have. 46% of all players in the world across platforms are women. 10% are from the LGBTQIA community, and they are 17% more likely to spend money in a game than a sort of gender typical person. So I'd love for you to sort of also talk to the economics of it.
Yeah. So gaming was obviously the considered was a male dominated market. We all understand. But as you said, the women are actually spending more time in gaming rather than men. And obviously if you have a correct data, the 10% of from IGQ community, the industry has not just witnessed the surge in women gamer, but also in an entrepreneur, the founding team member of a gaming companies. So I think lots of people, lots of women, female has come to to join the companies, and it's coming, it's actually changing, it's rapidly changing.
I think she's Vandana's lost signal. So Zerah, perhaps you can talk from the esports point of view. I think there people already have the ability to bring forth their personalities in a far more in a way that gives them a lot more agency to be themselves. So how are you seeing diversity become a part of esports and gaming?
Yeah, so like Vandana before she left, she said that it was a male-dominated industry which has rapidly changed. When you look at the last 5-6 years in gaming, it's completely the opposite. Even in esports, for a matter of fact, you have seen now there are more female game streamers than male. And it's phenomenal to see this sudden effect after so many years. And the reason for that is majorly, if you go back, it was the internet, right? As soon as the internet started doing really well, there was this awareness in the market that now, you can become a streamer because your internet's working really well. And that's how we saw the first set of women gamers enter the scene. The second set of women gamers entered the scene when, for me as an example, is when PUBG came out. Because when PUBG came out and it and got banned, and then BGMI came, there was this language inclusive thought to it, where you could play the game in multiple languages, right? And that brought in more female population to have a more accepting feeling of, okay, it's gaming, but okay, I maybe not, I don't know how to hold this gun, but I can go hide in behind a stone, and just find themselves in what they were comfortable with. Over the years, there's another beautiful thing that's happened in India, is the fact that before, when you would go for a tournament, it would only be male tournaments, right? There was to never be a girl in a male's team. And the question used to be that women are not good enough to belong to those teams. And to change that on a moral level also, we started doing female only tournaments. So we could have a bunch of female pros, then go ahead and maybe one of them would start playing for a male team. But even globally today, male and female tournaments are taken care separately, right? So that puts a lot of pressure on someone who's from the LGBTQ community, because they don't know where to go, right? They don't know who to talk to. They feel really left out. And I think this comes down to awareness, right? When we only are not aware of how do we make them feel more inclusive, how will they feel the same? So I would say the methods we are trying to work with even now is we have started an esports welfare association where we take certain topics from health, wellness. If you're a woman in gaming, if you are struggling in gaming, come talk to us. Let's find some ground where you will find the comfort of at least talking to someone who's like-minded, and maybe we could build from there, right? Because there is no direct solution to a problem like this, because the industry is so nascent. But just talking more and more about it will maybe lead to an opening where, even they'll be so aware that they will be able to put a pride badge on very confidently, and we would know that, hey, it's a pride party, let's go have some fun and share those moments with everyone. So I think awareness is a major factor which we as a community of not only women but as an industry need to work very firmly on, because we've come from a time where we didn't have awareness, but we were lucky because we were first to market. It paid off for us. But it's no longer the same scenario, and it is our duty to make that change one step at a time.
All of you for giving your time, for sharing the knowledge, for shortening the learning curve. And I hope that the people watching this discussion use your current knowledge. If you already have work experience, try to find a job similar to yours. It's a sunrise industry. So we're, really at the beginning of what gaming will achieve over the next couple of decades. So if you have a marketing background, you can enter with those skills, and your knowledge might apply to only some requirements, but you learn the skills or qualifications that you need to. If your job is outside the gaming industry, you're already mid-career, then the wonderful thing about the gaming industry is everybody, for a lot of the people who will be recruiting you, they have also come into the gaming industry. So they understand that you can learn those skills as you go along. But be clear, build your portfolios, own your hard and soft skills, and know what they are. And, if nothing else, if this is a passion, start from scratch. Build your own game, learn, explore what artificial intelligence tools are going to be able to do for you, learn what the free tools for ASO and keyword searches, and including tools like Midjourney, and how they are going to be able to help you create that product and sort of build your own. And it will also, among other things, teach you the whole life cycle of the game, and get you to a point where now you have a much stronger portfolio to be able to join a large company. And last of all, for everybody who's celebrating Pride this month, reach out. Reach out, and there's always somebody who's happy to have a conversation, who's happy to include you in the next discussion they're having, who's happy to listen and hear the feedback on how we can change some of the things that have slowly changed for us. Mariam, Zerah, Saumya, Vandana, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Good pleasure.
Thank you all.